Hey, what's up? Just want to thank you guys for watching our channel. Please hit that subscribe button. It's such a passive-aggressive league.
Yep.
And it's such a petty league. And sometimes I want to shake people and just be like, 13-year-old you, 14-year-old you, if you knew what you had accomplished and were making and the position you're in, and that's what you're going to fucking worry about all day long, 14-year-old you would fucking kick your ass.
There's a counter to that.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if you say I'm just living my dream, like dudes just say, dudes haven't gotten drafted or draft stock have dropped because they say I just enjoy the game of basketball. I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm living my dream. You can't think like somebody will undercut you thinking like that. And that's
What do you mean by that?
just mean like I felt like you would get blasted for literally showing up and being like, hey, I tried my best.
No. I'm saying I want to win everything.
Yeah,
I want to be the best version of myself. I want to be a great teammate.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
The 20% you caring, like that's 80% of everything. The 20% is going to show. And be
hold
like,
on, Evan. But hold on.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you guys will agree with me on this. There is only so much I could control.
Yeah.
There is only so much you could control.
Yep.
So why am I going to worry about the shit I can't control? That's my point. Like I can control showing up to work, being on time, being a great teammate, doing my extra work, taking care of my body, the way I competed. I could control all that. I couldn't control whether the ball went in the hoop or not. I could prepare I could control the preparation.
Yep.
I could control all the variables in a game.
Yeah.
I could control my effort. I could control all that. For the most part, I could control my interactions with teammates, coaches, referees. Sometimes your emotions get the best of you. But like that's what I'm saying. Like I was more focused on winning and my own like little bubble of things I could control than I was, oh, so-and-so said this about you. And then so-and-so said,
true, absolutely.
it's like, and that to me is what eroded a lot of teams I was on.
Yeah,
it ended up eroding a lot of teams I was on.
Yeah. I think because with what you're saying, like why would ego get in the way? So I have a counter to that.
No. I understand why you go, and I want to hear your counter.
All three of us are very similar in our approach to the game of basketball. Like we understood, we all played to win. I don't think anybody would argue with us. And so when we all had to sacrifice, we never were like, I'm just gonna go out here and score and I ain't got to play on the other end, or like I don't have to help as much. Like, and this would make Steph Curry great, where he holds himself accountable, even though he's the best player, arguing the league. Like they get to take plays off, and he never did that. And so, but what Evan is saying, and this is how I scout. Like I heard you were, you can be a GM. Like your name was thrown out there. Not that you did, but your name was thrown out there.
We interviewed for the Raptors job.
You
head
interviewed?
Coach, head coach Raptors.
You interviewed for the head coaching job.
I remember that.
Why would you be a head coach? We'll talk about it later. Right? We'll talk about it later. Right?
No, make your point. I'll ask you about that.
So when you scout players that you want on your team, you want to know, like, what makes you go? Why do you play the game? And I have heard, like, there's one guy, I'm like, man, it's always those guys like, man, this guy is so good. What's missing? I'll ask that question all the time. I'm like, listen, I see what you see, but something's missing. And I can't trust this guy. What's missing? And when you peel back the layers, and this is one particular player, he's so good. Athletic, can shoot, can handle the point, can, make shots, like a great player. And somebody said, well, he's just happy to be here. Like, he's like, I made it to the NBA. I'm living my dream. I made it here. Like, the championship's not that important to me. But he's talented enough to be in the 450. So we don't want him on our team, but he's good enough to be here. And as long as you keep letting those guys in the league, and there may not be that many, but there's a bunch. People say that about Christian Wood. Right. And I don't know him, so I'm only saying what they speculate about him. And
no, it's a fair point. He just signed with the Lakers. He signed for a minimum contract, but he's clearly not a minimum talent, right? It's a fair point. Correct. I don't know Christian either. I'm not going to speak bad about him. But there are things that are said about him, right?
Correct. And so I think those are the two sides that we're talking about. And so when you go back to that 14-year-old and you say, I would shake my 14-year-old self, like, why would you let this get in your way? We also say certain guys like Dylan Brooks, and I'm going to use Dylan for an example. There's certain guys in the NBA that wouldn't be in the NBA if they didn't have that crazy mentality or how they view themselves. and there's a selfishness within how they view themselves. But if Dylan Brooks wasn't crazy, he wouldn't be in the NBA.
Yeah.
So
I think this is what makes
there's an exception to every rule.
No. It's a great point, and this is what makes the NBA, I think, so fascinating, and why the NBA will always be drama filled, is because you have to think about this. We are a lot of times. You said selfish. I don't look at it that way. Survival of the fittest, adaptation. Yes. Survival of the fittest and adaptation.
Yeah.
I've got to do certain things for me to get to the NBA, and I've got to do certain things for me to stick to the NBA. The challenge then as an individual is how can I do those things in a team setting to help my team win a basketball game or help my team win a championship. If that's not if that second piece is not a priority, then that's what you're talking about, where you've got a 18th best offense, 25th best defense.
Bro, you can still do your job wholeheartedly and be like, bro, I'm tired showing up to this bitch shooting 4 times in 38 minutes. Yeah. I don't know. When I was 14, I saw myself getting 38. So I would still do my job.
Bingo.
I would still do my job. But at the end of the day, you can't tell me as one of the top 400 players, I can't get one goddamn play a half after guarding 1 through 4 every night.
But that's just the role they gave you, and you got to accept it because you're making.
And I understand
because I agree with you.
No, I understand.
But I'm just giving you their take.
He's made, but you're making my point. Is that it is like the survival of the fittest piece. Yeah. I'm not painting myself as a saint here. I'm saying that is the challenge. Like, I still got frustrated. There were still certain games where I'm like, fuck, man, like, I had a bad game. Like, I remember, Brett, game 1 of the Brooklyn series in 2018. I was 2 for 7. We lost at home to Brooklyn. I fouled out. We had a different defense that year, and it was just basically like no help defense. You're one-on-one. And like, that's, dude, I'm guarding Karis LeVert and D'Angelo Russell, like Spencer Dinwiddie. Like, that's not good for me. I fouled out, had a bad game. And like Tobias and I talked after the game because Tobias didn't play well either. And I'm like, I did have a bad game. I'm not saying I didn't have a bad game. And Tobias was like, yeah, same thing. But I wasn't in a position, like I didn't get my normal plays called. Like my DHO action with Joel, like I got one of those that game. You know, it was like
3 more shots or 5.
They're top locking me as soon as I cross half court.
Yep.
Like, they're not even paying attention to certain guys on offense. Yep. Yeah, I didn't play well and I'm frustrated. But then on the other side, I'm like, I told Brett after game 1, I was like, you got to call plays for me, motherfucker. Like, I'm not going to get open shots just standing there.
Help me.
Help you.
Yeah, no, and you shake hands. It's like, no, you tweet, I tweet, this your team. I'll do what you say, but like, just, you can't knock me for wanting to shoot. That's it.
It's interesting. I think, all of this, because I think what we're talking about, like, you said we all kind of are wired the same way, right? We're wired differently, but we're wired in the same way. And I think, at least for me, I always felt like I embraced the role. You have been like more memorialized and celebrated for embracing a role.
I've always embraced my role. I just didn't hate it. But
that's what I'm saying.
I will say, when I embraced my role so much, I diminished my career.
Yeah.
True story.
So when you're sitting here and we're talking about this, JJ, and I feel you missed your 16 years, like eventually you listen to the coach, it's like, keep buying it. And before you knew it, I'm like, bro, I literally diminished myself to the point where I'm just like, what do you want me to do? Pass it here, cool. I'll set a screen. Hey, big dog, I'll run the floor. I came in as a 6'7" point guard. So when we talk about the NBA and shit, and we're going to the game, and I'm not wrong for saying like, yo, I shoot 4 shots that day. No, I didn't play basketball that day. I went and got cardio and wrestled with some of the top talent in the world. But no, and you're not wrong. And you're not
all the time. To bitch mob, hey, let's get some cardio, fellas.
TJ McConnell, you say it all the time. I come off the bench after like a 6-minute run. I'd be like, that was a good cardio session, you know?
And it's the truth, and it's not hating because I respect every great player I play with, and I'm into the alpha level. Don't ever let me get it fucked up. Like a superstar, like alpha, like Supreme, Dame, those guys, like say less. But I'm just saying, as a dude that's top 400 in the world, and we shared a Player of the Year trophy. I played in the city of Chicago, played for one of the greats. I can sit here and say eventually, like, I know enough basketball. I'll be like, yo, anybody, you shoot 7 times, bro. You're supposed to shoot 2 for 7.
Do you think in your career, by embracing the role that you were asked to play, it not only diminished your career, but it
helps too.
No. But there's a what he was talking about with the irrational confidence, like losing some of that by embracing the role.
Bingo.
That's ultimately.
I lost the fuck you that I needed to play. And at the end of the day, whether y'all think so or not, JJ,
No.
You're the baddest man walking because you say, why was I hated? No, you tell anybody, fuck you showed it.
Yeah.
And it's like when we sit here and it's like, it's only 5,000 players, or we say like how hard it is to hit this level or even hit the level of play for 5 years and you guys sit for 17 at a high level. Like, no, you didn't do that normally. You did that shit irrationally. You did that shit being entitled. You did this shit to believe. Like, and we forget that. Everybody's like, when you get to a certain level, like, no, you brought a killer in here. Put me in a cage to kill. Don't turn shit down.
What's the point of having shooters if we can't shoot?
No, it's the truth. And you give me $1 bajillion and I'm getting Manny and Petties and, you know what I mean, and all this, like, shit, you done turned me soft. Like, God, like, yeah, bro, keep me a killer asshole. Like, be like Russell Westbrook. Mm-hmm. And then when it's over, then I'll go get rehab. Am I saying something wrong, JJ?
You are. No,
I'm sorry, JJ, but I got to keep it real. Sometimes I be super nice and I leave.
This is why we have a podcast.
Yeah, I'm like, I hate it because I was nice. But like, this is the truth, bro. They got to hear this, bro.
No, I know, but you're spot on. You're spot on. And this, I'll go back to the conundrum of the individual versus the team. It's like, for me, I had to be an asshole at times. For sure. To the other team, to the refs.
The refs deserve it.
Not a lot to my teammates, but sometimes. But like, I had to have a fuck you attitude.
Yeah.
If I didn't, I was gone. I didn't have a big margin at all. I had a very tight margin. I got a negative wingspan. I'm super athletic relative to the rest of the population. Compared to the NBA, I'm on the lower end of the spectrum, right? So I had to have it. The challenge was always, I can't let that part of what makes me a good basketball player bleed into eroding the team, right? And I think that's what we're talking about, right? And that's the challenge. And it sounds like with you, it was like, because you embraced doing something you didn't want to do for so long, it eventually eroded the fuck you, and you lost that part of it, which is what made you good in the first place.
Yeah, don't answer no more. Don't answer that question, because when I interview you for our pod, this is what I'm diving into. So
no,
because this is something our old executive producer used to say. He was like, "Y'all give so much good shit away."
I be thinking that all the time. I'm like, son of a bitch.
but we got so much shit we don't care.
That's what I'm saying. When I go to other people's podcasts, I'm like, I got shit for days.
Yeah, I don't care.
Shit for days.
Yeah, I don't care.
Nah, but one thing I will say when I give flowers to, and I always say this at a certain level, because I think there's certain things that you guys are talking about that I don't even, when we talk about wires, I don't have a wire to. And that's not like in a weird sense. That's just maybe you guys going longer, pause, or figuring out more solutions, or being, even better at solution-based situations. Because there's a reason why I stopped at 10 and you went 17. You damn near went 2 decades.
15. You're 19, right?
19.
Yeah, I went 15.
Yeah, my fault. But like, there's something to speak to that. Like, I could be screaming here and being like, yo, I never, like, shit, I went to playoffs 9 out of 10 years of my career, but I was never an all-star. I was never at that high level of standard.
I got an argument for you, but go ahead.
No, but I dig you, but like, you have a high level of standard. And I'm just saying this for a listener's point. Like, you have to take 3 different points of views. But at the same time, I'm also comprehending that maybe there's some type of finesse over the physical or the force that I probably needed in order to, if I wanted to go 4 or 5 extra years, or turn a conference finals team into a championship team, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know exactly what you're saying.
So I'm playing devil's advocate. I don't want to get to screaming and act like
you're not. You're not. No. You're not.
Or be disrespectful.
You're not.
To you guys.
Well, you're not victimizing anyone here.
Okay,
like I don't take it as that. I take it as just being candid and honest, and I appreciate it. Yeah.
No, but I just want to. The number one thing I want to do is always respect the talent and like the people that put the work in, and like what you guys were able to do in like the upper teams and stuff isn't normal.
Talking to the mic.
Isn't normal.
When one of my teammates had one of my favorite sayings. Well, he was speaking on. This is Draymond said this. He said, "Y'all keep calling players bust, but we aren't holding the people making these picks accountable." And I always say, you were set behind the moment you got drafted. There's absolutely no way Philadelphia should have drafted you. Because we always talk about that. It's a 6-7 point guard. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with teams should come first, competing and winning first. we talk about Philly a lot. I'm glad Pat Beverly, he went on a rant today about Philly and the Uber. So he's getting the Philly experience and what we experienced there. And they got new ownership, new management. So I'm comfortable with saying this now. I didn't realize till I left that the organization wasn't trying to win. So what do you do in that scenario? You got to be selfish, right? Because now you said it's a survival. I got to eat. I'm going in my contract year.
And 10 to 15 teams are doing that on any given year.
Yeah.
But they're mad at the players for going out there trying to get their numbers.
And publicly saying, oh, we're about to tank. You go up to Sam Hinkie and it's like, yo, I've been working my whole career to battle to get here.
Yeah.
I give a fuck about winning. I called that mine and said, yo, should I leave and go overseas and try? Like, I didn't know what to do. I was like, bro, I can't go and we're not trying to win. I was at home crying. So we sit there and we show up. I'm like, yo, Sam, can I talk to you about my future? Shout out Sam Hinkie. You have a whatever, like it's business. I got 5 minutes for you to talk about my fucking future. So we start talking about certain level. I would love to do that, but when we enter all this stuff, it's a business of basketball that you forget about. And then when you sit there as well, you remember at the level of being bust, the unknown is scared.
I don't think you were a bust, Evan.
I don't think I was a bust, but like I'm talking about you starting off at the level of like how quick you can go. But like the unknown of being on that level is scary and being like, yo, which way are we going to go? So sometimes when it comes to that certain level of like trying to trust people or trust adults that are supposed to guide you in the right direction, and I'm not the only one this has happened to in the sense of like not even being like, oh, misguided or none of that, because I've ended up in the NBA, but it's just like, no, you're going to naturally protect yourself. When you break a bone or get hurt, that shit is going to swell up and try to protect whatever else is coming around. That's your instinct of Darwinism. And then when you go up and you start talking to people that have no clue about fucking basketball over something you risked your whole life for and you care about it, and they're worried about some dude named Wiggins 3 years down the line. You know what I'm saying? And we talk about a lot of shit, but I'm talking about the human part.
But that's what you get paid for, to not be a human. Yeah, because I hear that too often.
Yeah, so
it's the line from Mad Men. I don't know if you guys ever watched the show where Peggy goes in and complains to Don, and he says, "That's what the money is for."
That's what the money's for.
That's real. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And truthfully, I'm not going to get into this right now. Truthfully, that's what every single fan, that's the knee-jerk comment anytime anybody says anything about what we're talking about.
How much money you make.